Hi guys, I'm Mike and this is F1 Fanatics. So guys, it is a Friday, which means that it is time for the F1 Weekly News Show, and there has been some more big news in silly season. The driver announcement for 2020 seats has been confirmed for Haas, and that saw Romain Grosjean retain his seat for the 2020 season and really leaves Nico Hulkenberg's future in F1 in doubt. It has came to a shock to the F1 world if reactions on Twitter and even in the when they were talking on Sky Sports commentary in FP1. It came as a shock to them. I will go through the facts before giving my opinion on things as well. So Haas came out and they said they obviously wanted a driver with experience, and obviously they are changing a lot of things to do with the car, and the VF19 has not been a positive car for Haas this year, and they have really struggled to kind of overcome the technical difficulties of those. But some person who has helped with that and really understands the team and has been from the team and its current state from day one is Romain Grosjean, and they have decided to stick with him with that experience of how the team works, and obviously probably being, this is only speculation, a financially more viable option for Haas, because obviously last week we spoke about the Rich Energy sponsorship deal being ended, and they haven't secured a new title sponsorship for next year, so securing a big money move for someone like Nico Hulkenberg would have been an issue. Yes, Nico Hulkenberg's future is in doubt. He says his future is now out of his hands, although today was also saying that he would be up to the challenge of having Max Verstappen as his teammate. And I think I mentioned when the Esteban Ocon news replaced him at Renault came out that he would wait as long as possible, as this would be his kind of last real shot at getting a big team seat. And Red Bull is the only option if Alex Albon doesn't perform and they choose not to go internally with Daniel Kvyat. So my opinion on things is I can understand the shock, but I feel like Nico Hulkenberg's talent has been hyped up a little bit. Yes, he is a very solid midfield competitor, but if he went to a top team, I'm 95% sure that he would not win a world title. He is not on that calibre of a team. This isn't like one of those lost generation talent of a driver that could have been world champion and really kind of been a huge success in the sport. F1 teams aren't stupid. They look at these things, and if he was capable, an incredible talent like a Charles Leclerc, like a Max Verstappen, you can bet any money that he would have been in one of those big seats. Yes, obviously his height and weight goes against him being a tall driver, and that has only this season really been taken into account with the car, where it has been a real issue for those taller drivers on the grid in the past. But Nico Hulkenberg is a solid performance. Do I think overall he's a better option for Haas than Romain Grosjean? Yes, I do. But it is rumoured, we don't know this, but he would certainly be on more money than them individually, but it was rumoured that he was on more money than both Magnussen and Grosjean combined. Yes, he would have been willing to take a pay cut, but he certainly would have been a pay increase on Grosjean, and Grosjean does bring sponsorship to the team, as well as obviously being an established part of that team. So for Nico Hulkenberg, is he a huge step up on Romain Grosjean? I don't think he is. Grosjean and Magnussen, I think it's hard to kind of criticise them too much this year, because that car has been awful, and so many, yes, obviously Grosjean has had 6 DNFs this season, but those are majority mechanical failures. The only one you can say that wasn't mechanical failure was that Silverstone crash between him and Magnussen, and to blame that entirely on Grosjean I think would be wrong. It was half a dozen of one and 6 of the other. And when he has performed, he has got in the points, not as much as what Haas would probably want, but like I said, it's a terrible car. It hasn't really been competing in the midfield as well as it has been last year. I said it before, Grosjean's main criticism is his inconsistency, and Hulkenberg would have brought that. But was it enough, that financial increase, plus having to adapt to all the things where obviously Grosjean will hit the ground running next year because he knows within that team? It was probably too much of a risk factor, and for a team that aren't as financially stable in Formula 1 as Haas are, it probably is the sensible decision, although will upset a lot of fans, because if you just look at it, there's a lot of factors that go to this, but if you just look at it on driving ability in there, you probably would go with Nico Hulkenberg. So it's a shame for him. Will he get another seat in F1? That's yet to be decided. This was a shock, so I suppose there could be a shock yet to come with Nico Hulkenberg, or I fully expect him to look into opportunities within Formula E, or maybe DTM or WEC, where he has obviously shown pedigree in with a Le Mans 24 Hours winner in 2016. Then moving on to a much more agreeable topic, and something that is almost like a paid tribute. Robert Kubica has retired for a second time from Formula 1, and he has chose to leave Williams in pursuit of other opportunities. It hasn't worked out how we would want it, and how Robert Kubica fans would want it, and how F1 fans would want it, because it was an absolute inspiration to see him even get back to the pinnacle of motorsport in Formula 1, and he was a fantastic talent. And as I talk about now, and as me and Ash have spoken about, that we view Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen as world champions in the making in the future, Robert Kubica in his time was certainly one of those, and Lewis Hamilton called him an inspiration and has previously stated that he is one of the best drivers that he ever drove against, obviously pre that accident that kind of has caused him to have the limitations that he does today. I think mainly it is the fact that F1 has moved on so much since his last time competitively in F1, and obviously the Pirelli tyres are a whole kind of enigma in their own to manage, and I just don't think he's been able to do that. I believe he was linked earlier in the week with Audi approaching him to join DTM, and I think this would be a better option for him rather than Formula E in the single-seater series or IndyCar, something like that. I think the DTM would be a really good series to kind of go out on his motorsport career as a high, because I still think as a driver he has a lot to offer motorsport, and this could be the series where he does well and maybe even gets a championship title within that series. But yeah, it's been an absolute inspiration to see Robert Kubica. It's a shame it hasn't worked out more competitively, but he can certainly walk away from the sport with his head held high, and yeah, good luck to Robert Kubica in whatever he pursues himself in his next part of his career. Now moving on, sticking with Formula 1 with the race, and there has been a lot of controversy around the smog and the health conditions around the Singapore air this year ahead of this race. I think it was also muted that Lewis Hamilton was consulting on medical advice whether it was safe for him to drive. Now, I don't think for any moment that Lewis Hamilton is not going to drive this weekend in the race, but I think that sends out a statement and a clear policy that Singapore do need to sort out this issue. It's also been affected by fires, I believe, in nearby forests, or it might have been a forest in Indonesia, which is affecting the air and affecting the race. But I think Bottas also said it is the brake dust on the track that will be a real issue, a more kind of telling issue for the drivers in Singapore this weekend. I think this is an issue that won't necessarily affect the race this year, but if it is an issue where the health rating continues to kind of get higher and becomes more and more of a health risk, it will be a serious thing for F1, the FIA and Liberty Media to consider to remove Singapore from the F1 calendar if this becomes a further issue. But yeah, that was one of the main talking points going into the weekend. Also on a technical front, Ferrari and Racing Point are the main ones that I've seen who have brought big upgrades, fairly big upgrades to the weekend. Ferrari have brought a new front wing. They've got rid of the kind of 3 grooves that you've seen throughout the season on their front wing. to date, and they've got rid of those, and yeah, I think they've made the front nose wider and flatter as well, so it'll be interesting to see how that performs. Vettel had a good showing in FP1 to date, so it'll be interesting to see whether that can carry on into FP2 or not. Leclerc had gearbox issues in FP1, so we weren't really able to see what he can do with that. Racing Point have also bought a big aero package for this weekend, so it'll be really interesting to see if they can continue their strong start to the second half of the season and have both drivers have another strong points finish. I believe that is all rounded up on the tech notice. Lewis Hamilton was being investigated for a fuel breach, and Mercedes have been punished for that, but it is no grid penalty or anything that will affect his race. They have just been financially penalised. So yeah, I don't think too much hassle for Mercedes there. Moving on to Formula E, and I believe Alex da Costa was announced as Jean-Eric Vergne's teammate for the next year coming up, and I also believe it was Jakarta has also been announced on the 2019-20 calendar as well, as they look to expand their calendar and obviously influence in the Formula world. Guys, I believe that is a roundup. As always, if I have missed anything, do get involved in the comments. Let me know. But the main thing probably to get involved in the comments today, guys, is that big story that Haas have retained Grosjean and they have not chose to sign Nico Hulkenberg. And what is the future of Nico Hulkenberg? I think, yeah, just a round up on that point, so we go from there. Nico Hulkenberg and Roman Grosjean will both look at their careers as what might have been, rather than kind of being totally satisfied with how things have played out. But I think both in the next 3 years won't be a part of Formula 1 and will make way for the next generation of drivers in F1. So guys, if you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new around here, don't forget subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification, and you can keep up to date with all our latest content and, you know, see more videos like this. But you F1 fans, remember, keep racing. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed the video today and hope you've been enjoying the content that we have been putting out for you guys. If you are enjoying the content, don't forget you can subscribe to the channel by clicking here, and also we'll leave a couple of videos for you to check out that we've done previously up here and up here. Guys, thanks for watching.